everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, I've come across an article from Israel 365 News. This is from yesterday, February 22nd, and it's titled, River Prophesied by Ezekiel Accidentally Discovered in Jerusalem. Which, that's a pretty that's a pretty bold claim. I've read some of the article, but not the whole thing, so I want to read through this, comment on it, and then share some things that I found on the church website, which are also pretty interesting. So if you don't know what this is talking about, this comes from Ezekiel chapter 47. This is the story of basically a vision that Ezekiel had. Actually, I'm not sure if it was a vision or a dream, but it's same thing, essentially. But Ezekiel was having this spiritual experience where he is being shown the temple, and then there was water that was coming out from under the temple, and the further away the water got from the temple, the deeper and deeper and deeper it got. Okay, so here's the chapter heading: Waters issue from the house of the Lord and heal the Dead Sea. The Lord shows the borders of the land. Now, it's my understanding that this is why, this chapter right here in this vision that Ezekiel had, this is why modern day temples, they all have like reflecting pools. It's my understanding that it's supposed to be kind of tied to that. Not a fulfillment of prophecy, but like a reminder. So like, and in fact, it's interesting because the Mesa Temple, let's see, Mesa Temple Fountain? Let me see if I can find a picture of it. The Mesa Temple on the east side. Okay, whatever. Well, here's like the reflecting pool of the Mesa Temple. Gosh, I miss Mesa so much. Well, not necessarily Mesa, the city, but I mean, the city's fine. I'm more of like a West Valley person. And when I say West Valley, I'm talking about the West Valley of Phoenix, not West Valley, Utah. But I really miss going to the Mesa Temple. During Christmas time, they put on a really good Christmas light display here. And it's beautiful. Man, I miss Arizona. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here in Kansas. I really am. But I have so many good memories of Arizona, and just, I don't know, just seeing those palm trees and the desert landscape. There's a lot of people that don't like the desert there. They call it ugly, and you can see it that way, but it's also kind of pretty and serene in its own way. So whatever, this video is not about that. Well, let's see, here you go. Here's like a even better probably visual of that concept. Here's the Lei Hawaii temple, and you have the kind of this fountain, which you could say is symbolically coming from out underneath the temple and stuff like that. So this is a pretty good visual of it. What is that right there? I wonder what that's a picture of. It says maternity. What is that? Does anyone know what that is? Or what? It looks like someone's pouring water on somebody else, like a Catholic baptism. But I'm sure that's not what is this? Okay, if you know the answer, put it in the comments below. I didn't know that was there. Okay, so anyway, back to it. So it's my understanding that whole thing with all the temples, it's basically calling back to Ezekiel chapter 47. Okay, now, in this article with Israel 365, they say that the actual literal water coming from underneath the temple has been found, the river. So let's see what they have to say. This picture, it says, Tunnel of Ezekiel in Jerusalem, Israel. Image of the newly discovered stream are still unavailable. And this is from Shutterstock. Okay, recently Okay. Recently, excavations were undertaken in the basement level of the Fruman building of King George Street in the heart of Jerusalem. Workers were surprised to find a large volume of water flowing into the excavation. They initially assumed the water was the result of a broken water pipe, but soon discovered that the source was a previously unknown natural source. So that is interesting, a previously unknown natural source of water. The three-story building was originally intended to be a six-story office building, but construction was halted in the 1947 War of Independence. It was chosen. Sorry, it what it and was chosen to house the Knesset of Israel, and after completion, housed the first to fifth Knessets from 1955 until 1966. The construction was intended to create a Knesset museum. Oh, well, that's interesting because the Knesset is basically the Israeli parliament or Congress or however you want to think of it, right? Sorry, I'm like double guessing myself today. Knesset. Let's just verify. It's okay. The Knesset, Israel's unicameral parliament, is the country's legislative body. Yeah. Okay. So that's already interesting. That if this is the case, if this is the prophesied river or water coming out from underneath the temple, that they found it here on this particular building. It's interesting. Let's see if we can find this on Google Maps. Fruman building, Fruman House was the temporary abode of Israeli parliament. Okay, this is the right place. Okay, let's go to Google Maps. Okay, the Temple Mount is over here, so it's pretty darn close. It's pretty darn close to the Temple Mount. Here's the Dome of the Rock. And over here is the Fruman House. Let's see if there's a street view. Looks like there is. Yes, I'm guessing it's this building. That is 3 stories. 1, 2, 3. And then it has, let's see, home of the Israeli Knesset. Yeah, dang. Look at that. Is there anything on there? No, that's all Hebrew. Wow. That is crazy. And then there's a McDonald's over there. Now, the thing about it is that the water coming out from underneath the temple, let me switch over to satellite. Okay, so here you can clearly see the Temple Mount. Okay, so if the Fruman House is like over here, I already lost it, but it's over here somewhere. The river was supposed to go, according to the dream or the vision, east, and then heal the Dead Sea over here. See, so it's supposed to go this way. But I guess this could possibly still qualify, I guess. Okay, let's continue. Okay. Okay, 3-story building was... The construction was intended to create a Knesset museum. I guess it's talking about the current construction. The construction workers also discovered an old water pump, indicating that at one point the water source had been known and utilized. No records have been found in the Knesset archives indicating knowledge of the water source. It is described as a quote-unquote massive amount of water that requires the installation of a pumping system to prevent the foundations of the building from being undermined and the building itself from being flooded. Now, with all the Orthodox Jews and all the Jews back then, you would think that they would have obviously somebody knew about this. Many people knew about it. So you'd think that somebody would be like, whoa, is this the... let's see what the rest of the article says, but I'm kind of feeling that this is not actually a good candidate, but maybe there's something I'm not considering here. There's still no decision on how to deal with the hidden spring, and if after the completion of the works it will be possible to leave the water source open to the public, or the water will be drained into the municipal water system. Rabbi Yosef Berger cited the prophecies describing water flowing from Jerusalem in the end of days, most notably the prophet Ezekiel. Excuse me. And this is from a different version of the Bible, but because they quoted this at the beginning of the article. He led me back to, he, meaning the angel, he led me back to the entrance of the temple, and I found that water was issuing from below the platform of the temple eastward, since the temple faced east, but the water was running out at the south of the Mizbeach. Okay, so it actually was coming out south first, and then heading east. Okay. Under the south wall of the temple. Then he led me out by the way of the northern gate, and led me around to the outside of the outer gate that faces in the direction of the east. And that would be the Golden Gate, by the way. We've done videos about the Golden Gate and the church symbol and how it matches the Golden Gate, very interestingly. But you'll have to go back and go find that. Just do a search on the channel for Golden Gate. And I found that water was gushing from under the south wall. As the man went on eastward with a measuring line in his hand, he measured off 1,000 amot and led me across the water. The water was ankle deep. Then he measured off another 1,000 and led me across the water. The water was knee deep. He measured off a further 1,000 and led me across the water, and the water was up to the waist. When he measured yet another 1,000, it was a stream I could not cross, for the water had swollen into a stream that could not be crossed except by swimming. This water, he told me, runs out to the eastern region and flows into the Arabah. And when it comes into the sea, meaning the Dead Sea, into the sea of foul waters, the water will become wholesome. Okay, now this is the rabbi talking. When looking at the prophecies, it is important to first accept them as they are presented by a simple and literal reading, what Jews call the Pshat, Rabbi Berger said. This can sometimes be the most difficult approach, as the literal reading can seem quite fantastic. Yes, very true. And I think that that's something that we need to be careful of as well. Okay. But the Bible tells only the truth. What is described as having happened actually happened precisely as written, and what the prophets say will happen will certainly appear precisely as written. In this case, people who are familiar with Jerusalem would have assumed that such a scenario was impossible. The only natural water source in Jerusalem that was known to date was the Gihon Spring, which flows into Shiloh, or whatever. Rabbi Berger then went on to explain what could be learned from this unexpected natural phenomenon. Another word for spring in Hebrew is makor, or source, the rabbi noted. The government used to sit in that building. That was their source. But we now see what direction they have taken, incorporating the enemy into the government. Most people do not know, but the first Bet Din, which is a rabbinical court, and we've actually talked about that before as well, composed of holy rabbis, used to sit in the building as well. The Knesset began to go astray when they separated from the light of Torah. That was in the same building. That's interesting. I don't know if this is true, but that is an interesting concept, because now, again, my understanding is that the government of Israel more resembles the rest of like Western nations. It's has diversity. There are Arab Israelis that are part of it, which I think that's what he's alluding to here. That it's not just solely Jewish or even solely who they would consider to be holy or rabbis. Okay, a natural spring is a mikveh, ritual bath used to purify objects as well as people, Rabbi Berger said. The prophetic waters flowing from Jerusalem will need to be sustenance, but more importantly, to purify the masses of people who will be coming to the third temple. The government must also be purified and rededicated, as must the rabbinate. Okay, so it sounds like what he's saying is that the government cannot continue to go on the way that it currently is. That it needs to be, I think what he's saying is purely Jewish and according to what they would view as like a holy order, you know. Okay, Rabbi Berger returned to his original premise. The simple reading is the most important, he said. The prophet said that waters would flow from Jerusalem, and against all expectations today, we are actually seeing this. Okay, and that's how the article ends. Okay, yeah. So that's what the article says. Let me just show you a couple things that I found on the church website. So for Come Follow Me, as you know, this year we're doing the Old Testament, and so there was a little tiny thing on Ezekiel 47, but it wasn't in the manual itself. It was a link to a video, and it's this video here, and it's Elder Renland. Elder Renland and his family discussed the prophet Ezekiel's vision of the waters flowing from the house of the Lord. The river of water represents blessings, which flow from the temples to heal families and give them life. So that is that's like the modern day church's view on it. Although now I have a quote here from Joseph Smith, so don't think that I'm saying that this is the only meaning of that scripture. But excuse me, in this video, Elder Renland talks about that, and he talks about how essentially it's the blessings that flow, excuse me, that flow from the temple that bless the families of the earth, and as it continues, it expands and it blesses more and more and more people. So sorry, I don't know what's going on with my throat. It blesses more and more people, especially like as we do family history work, and of course the fish in the sea are like people, which it makes sense because I think that's where Christ, whenever Christ was talking about being fishers of men and all this kind of stuff, I think that that's linked to this vision, right? That there's all these fish to catch. They're all in the river. I think there's also even like deeper meanings to this. I don't think that this is necessarily the only explanation, but and I may have even talked about this on the channel before, but now I'm not saying that this is doctrine. This is my own idea. I don't have anything to back this up, but if you think of the temple as the source of the river, and the temple representing the presence of God, well, with this river that's going away from the temple, it's almost kind of like time, don't you think? Because like a river, time flows in one direction, and this time leads out into our current situation. We've left the presence of God. We're in we're in time, which the scriptures seem to indicate that God the Father himself is like above time. I know that this is getting kind of deep, but there probably are more dimensions. I guess I don't want to get too like scientific with it, but I wouldn't be surprised if essentially just like it says, he's over all of time. He's not living in time. I'm not sure that he's living in time in the same sense that we are right now in mortality. There's a very interesting theme of time throughout the scriptures, right? We know that his reckoning of time, at the very least, is not the same as our reckoning of time. So anyway, the point is that as we're here in like mortality, moving in one direction in time, and we can't go back, we can't fix our mistakes, we can't of ourselves go back into the presence of God. We just keep going this way. It makes sense that Christ, it would have to be Christ and his servants that fish us out of this situation. And then those that don't accept Christ, they just continue on and on and on forever. And it's really interesting because I can't believe I'm getting into this. If you have to keep bringing up Disney Plus, we got Disney Plus because we wanted to watch all the Marvel movies. We were kind of like out of things to watch as a family, so we decided to watch the Marvel movies. And movie after movie after movie, it really feels like they are either mocking the gospel and truth and God, or they're trying to, I don't know, but so many of these movies actually have very, very specific themes that have to do with the last days. Sometimes they just like flat out say it. Other times it's a little bit more subtle. And I find a lot of it specific to our theology, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one, and it's in multiple movies. And one in particular, it's not a movie, it's a series. It's we're watching it right now. It's the Loki series. It's really good. It's very, as far as like being entertaining, it's very, very good. But it's actually very, very bad. Very, very, very bad. And it has to do, spoilers, in case you haven't watched it. Spoilers. I'm giving you a spoiler alert. You have time to stop if you don't want to hear the spoilers. And it's not going to be big spoilers, but the movie actually the series has to do with this concept about time. And we all know that, Loki, he basically represents Satan, and they don't really hide that in this series. And there's an interesting concept that at the end of the timeline, there's this place called the Void, which I think that we would call outer darkness, where Loki and all his like different, again, spoilers. Okay, there are spoilers. Loki and all of his different variations, because there's like different versions of him, they all end up in the Void, which I would equate to outer darkness, and they can't leave. They can't leave. There's so much more to that series. I would actually encourage you to watch it. It's and think about it in this kind of sense. So anyway, the fact. Okay, so just what I'm trying to say. I think that could be another symbol of this. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not going to say that it is, but that's maybe one thing to think about. And you'll notice that there's been so many movies and stuff lately about time and trying to fix things and try to avoid the end of the world. Because I think that there are those that are in power that see the writing on the wall and they wish there was some way to stop the end of the world, because they know it's going to be the end of their world. There's been a lot. There's been, we've had Tenet, we've had Bill and Ted Face the Music. That's the name of the movie. You have the Marvel movies and series, which deal with this actually a couple times. There was some other one. Anyway, there's been a lot recently about trying to stop the end of the world by means of time and editing time. And it's interesting because the Lord Christ, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually is the only one, because of the atonement, is able to actually edit time and literally make us pure if we repent and accept him and make covenants and do everything that we're supposed to do. So anyway, I don't want to go off too far on that, but that's kind of like an idea that I have of maybe a deeper meaning of this. But anyway, what Elder Renlund is saying is that this represents the blessings of the temple, and it goes out further and further to heal the families and give them life, right? Because in the state that we were in, in the Dead Sea, nothing was alive, right? When we leave the presence of God, we're dead. We're spiritually dead, and it takes the healing power of Christ, the temple, to heal us, so that we're alive again. The growth of the river is similar to the blessings of the temple, or whatever. You can go and watch this. This is I think this is his daughter. I'm not sure. Maybe it's a granddaughter. I didn't watch the whole thing. But, yeah, so, okay, now the quote from Joseph Smith. This is in the Old Testament Seminary Student Study Guide, The Healing Waters of the Temple, Ezekiel 47. Ezekiel 47 gives Ezekiel's vision of how water will yet flow from underneath the temple in Jerusalem and flow to the east, becoming larger and larger until it becomes a river of water. The water will flow into the Dead Sea and make it, quote-unquote, alive again with fish and vegetation. The prophet Joseph Smith said, Judah must return, Jerusalem must be rebuilt, and the temple and water come out from under the temple, and the waters of the Dead Sea be healed. It will take some time to rebuild the walls of the city and the temple, and all this must be done before the Son of Man will make his appearance. So he explicitly says there that it seems that this will actually literally happen as well. So this is one case where it seems like this will actually happen, but it is at the same time, it is also symbolic of what we just talked about. And then down here it says, this event is also symbolic of the spiritual renewal and rebirth that comes to individuals and families as they participate in the sacred, uplifting, and empowering ordinances of the temple that come from the source of living waters, even Jesus Christ. So, again, looking at this article, could this be the beginning of this prophecy coming to pass? I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like this has been the condition for a while, going back to when this building was first being used by the Knesset. So it doesn't seem like there's been any more progress as far as water going toward the Red Sea, or even seeming like it's coming from underneath the temple. They basically just found a new source of water. And I guess they're kind of speculating that this could be just the fact that it was an unknown source of water. And interestingly, very, very interestingly, that of all buildings in Jerusalem, that it was underneath the Knesset. So, I think there could be another interpretation of what's going on here. This kind of goes back to the story of, or the parable of, building your house upon a rock or upon sand. And it looks like this Knesset wasn't on a very good foundation. Although, they found a way to make it work. But it said something in here about how, let's see, foundation, massive water that requires the installation of a pump system to prevent the foundations of the building from being undermined. So I guess if it hadn't been for that pump, this would have been kind of a bad place to build a building. It wouldn't have worked without the pump. And the building itself would have been flooded. So it makes you think if maybe there's something to that, you know. Excuse me. So, yeah, a very interesting article, very interesting concept. It's kind of amazing. I really like it. So, yeah, that's going to be That's going to be the end of this one. So, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you had any other ideas, if you had anything hit you, if you have any additional information, etc. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.